Today on Growing Idaho, the second part of a special two-part edition of Transportation Tuesdays. Last week, we told you about how the increasing traffic here is affecting your time, your safety, and your bottom line. This week, we're talking about the solutions to those problems and also the problems with those solutions. Traffic in the Treasure Valley is bad, and it's getting worse. Economists say it's costing the economy jobs.
I think we definitely need to put a lot more resources, thought, and planning in how we're going to manage the traffic flows.
Police say it's costing us our safety.
And it can impact people's lives, and not just one person, but a lot of people.
And all of us who commute know it's costing us time. But what can be done, if anything? The population of the valley has spiked, so has the number of cars on the road, and we will continue to grow.
Unfortunately, with the growing community, you're always going to have congestion.
Matt Stahl is the executive director of Compass, the Community Planning Association of Southwest Idaho. That's a group of local governments working together to plan for the future of the Treasure Valley. And right now, a lot of their planning is focused on transportation and traffic.
If we ignore it and put our heads in the sand, it's not going to get better. It just gets progressively worse.
Which is why Compass created a long-range transportation plan for Ada and Canyon counties called Communities in Motion 2050. The goal is to keep everyone safe on the roads and make sure we can get where we need to go while boosting the economy and significantly helping improve everyone's quality of life. So it's a tall task. How's it going so far? If we start by looking at one part of the plan, big road expansion projects like on the interstate, Highway 2026 and Highway 44, things are going great.
Back in 2012, I believe it was, I didn't think those projects were ever going to be built because we didn't have the revenue. Fast forward to 2015, legislature does tremendous efforts for the past 8 years on enhancing our revenues, and we're building the state transportation system to the point where now we're going, most of those projects that we didn't think were going to be built are going to be built on the state system.
But, as you know, those newly expanded roads are already congested. And there's not much room left to expand them more, especially on I-84.
You can do maybe one more lane on it, but then pretty much you're done on those options. So we're talking about what's the next iteration of the state transportation system. However, it's not just the state transportation system that needs to be improved. It's also the local transportation systems, because if you set up a proper grid system that folks can have options in getting around, that can alleviate the congestion that we're seeing on the state system.
But Stahl says adding more lanes is only one part of the plan. It also involves developers building more mixed-use areas where people can live, work, play, and shop without hopping in their car. There are also cost-effective solutions in the plan, like messaging commuters when there are backups, traffic lights at the bottom of off-ramps, and just better signal timing.
It's not just widening the roads that you need to do.
That is something Sarah Larson can agree with.
I feel like we've gotten to a fair amount of lanes.
She fights traffic daily, commuting from Caldwell to Meridian, and something she thinks would help are more public transportation options.
I want to be able to walk a couple of blocks, get to a major artillery, and hop on a bus and run to the grocery store and come back. And I don't think that doing that within the course of an hour is really too much to ask.
Neither does Stahl. And he says there is something a lot of larger communities did when they were our size that's really helping traffic now.
They did invest in public transportation.
So, public transportation is a big part of the solution. High-capacity transit like rail, though, is still 15 to 20 years away. That's because you have to study it and then build it. There's also no dedicated state funding mechanism for public transportation in Idaho, so you have to find a way to pay for it. In fact, that is the biggest issue with the entire Communities in Motion 2050 plan, funding it. But how short could they be?
We're $193 million per year short in the necessary revenue.
That's right. They're $193 million short every single year in funding this $11 billion plan that runs through 2050. Part of the shortfall is thanks to inflation, and really, it could have been much worse.
The state legislature has done a tremendous effort and made great strides over the past 8 years in enhancing the revenue for our region and for the state and making available funds. But we also need to explore other revenues at the federal level.
That means federal grants, which they have secured from a few $100,000 to hundreds of millions of dollars worth. Compass also just hired a full-time grant writer to get even more federal dollars. But those grants are one-time or infrequent money, so consistent local and state funding is key. While Stahl applauded the state legislature for making big strides in transportation funding, he worries that it will not be enough, especially when it comes to bicycle and pedestrian transportation. But if you want your state legislature to pump more of your tax dollars into your transportation or just different transportation solutions, there is something you can do right now.
They need to get involved and express to their local government officials that they want something different.
Your lawmakers cannot listen to you if you're not telling them anything. For that matter, neither can Compass or any agency that's working to try to plan for the future of Treasure Valley traffic.
If they feel like they need to have a shorter commute or different options, please let us know. Please let the legislature know. Please let their local governments know that that's what they want. If they're silent, we don't know that.
So you can make a call or two, send an email or two, and let those decision makers know what your ideas are to solve all these traffic issues. Or maybe you have hot takes on the Communities in Motion 2050 plan. If you want to see that for yourself, the highlights are actually pretty easy to read through. I'm going to link that in this story on ktvb.com. And there's a place right there at the bottom of that page where you can give some feedback as well. More Wake Up Idaho after this.